I often have people tell me, "Oh, Maggie, I heard you moved to Panama. You retired. I guess you are living the life." Moving abroad seems to be something exotic, exciting to most people. But is it? Are we living our best life? Is it all that it's cracked up to be? Is there a darker side to moving abroad? Let's have a chat. Moving abroad is not in itself a new phenomenon, but retiring abroad seems to have become a new trend. I'm always asking, is it a fad or is it a trend? And I think from the responses that I've had to some of my videos, it appears to be a trend. But my question today is it all glitter and fun? Is moving abroad something that is, no, fabulous? It's an exciting thing to do. Is there a darker side? Are there things that are not talked about? Is the process all that it's cracked up to be? Do we really understand what is involved in moving abroad? Is it all exciting, or is there a side that is not so exciting? That's what I want to talk to you about today. If you are new here, my name is Maggie Lazar. I am a retired nurse practitioner, nurse of over 43 years. I've retired here in Panama since 2023. I think in a week or two, it will be my second anniversary, so I'm very grateful. I am also the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of sassy older ladies who have made a conscious decision to retire here to Panama, create community, create sisterhood while we reinvent ourselves. If any of this sounds of interest to you, I encourage you to like the video, share it with your friends and family, acquaintances, and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell so you are aware of when I post a video or when I go live. I am trying to post a video on Wednesdays now instead of Friday. I'm going to try it out because we had a good response from a video I posted on a Wednesday, but it could have been that it was New Year, so we're just studying the data and see. I also do a live show where we call it Cooking and Chatting with Maggie, where we cook a dish together, and then we just talk about life. And it's also a time for my subscribers or whoever joins to ask questions about Panama. Instead of having like a regular live, I just cook while we chat, which is something I enjoy. So I am trying also this format of standing where I do some of the shorts just because I get kind of bored with the same background. But because I'm facing my huge windows for the natural light, because I don't have any artificial light, but you see, it is what it is. So let me know if you like this format, please. Okay. I titled this video, The Dark Side of being an expat, especially an older expat. As you know, I am an elder. I'm 66, retired. So all my comments and my videos are really about moving abroad as a senior, as an older person, right? So moving abroad has been something that's been happening throughout the last decades. As society has become more global, people have become more mobile. So this is not a new phenomenon, as I said in the intro. But seeing so many seniors decide to leave home and retire somewhere else, it seems to be that the numbers have increased. one of my concerns is that there is not a repository, there is not a place where we can go to get accurate data. You know, I'm a left brain, I like to see numbers. I don't really ascribe to, I think, I feel. No, I need to see concrete data. And I think if we were to ask how many people are moving here, moving there are sources like the US State Department. I'm not sure that you could get accurate data there. I think the embassies at in different countries would be a good place to find information, or the migration, you know, the immigration offices, they know who's coming. So I don't know if somebody is keeping tabs on who's coming, their age group, ethnicities, but anyway, when they do the census, the last census they did here that was published, the result in 2023, it did tell you about how many Canadians. So I'm not sure, or US or other people from other countries or in this country here in Panama. So I'm not sure exactly where they get the data, but it's all we have. So it said that maybe there were like how many did they say? 6 to 7,000 Americans here, and maybe less Canadians, but I don't know. But the data was dated like 2020. It was just delayed because of COVID, the results. So we just don't have a good handle on the numbers. We who are here, we're thinking because whoever we see in the road when we go to the mall, it's like, I'm seeing a lot more. And also on the Facebook pages, the comments. So we get a sense that more people are moving here. And if you were to go to Portugal or Mexico or Colombia, Ecuador, you probably get the same feeling. But again, I'm looking for concrete numbers. And if you remember, I did a video when I talked about the three main factors that affect people moving abroad. If you're not moving abroad because you're curious, you're just exploring, or your job has moved you and you just decide to go somewhere else, you would be included in that data. And when I think I will post the source where I found that it says that there were three factors that influence somebody on where they decide to relocate to. It would be cost of living. The second one is cost of medication, and that definitely affects older folks and maybe folks with a chronic illness or some kind of disease that they're born with. And the third factor is the presence of an expat community. Those three factors are definitely important to people in my age group, right? So, but we also know that there are other factors that would influence someone's decision to moving abroad. And if we're talking about this phenomenon of older folks moving abroad, we can infer some different factors that have caused a lot of people to move abroad. I watch a lot of videos of expats all over the world, South America, Central America, Europe, and Asia. And some of the factors that even though they're being interviewed, but it comes through when somebody's talking to them, would include things such as safety. And it's not just people of color who feel unsafe. And I'm talking about the US because this is where I'm from. And a lot of people in my circle are from. The general sense of unease, of not being safe. And mass shootings, people being targeted because of the way they look. That gives you a sense, you could go to the store, you're shopping, but you're still thinking about it. I know I did. I would go to Publix and I'm like, well, it could happen. I'm at Walmart and I'm like, well, it could happen because it has happened. People just looking for someone who looks like me. So the general sense of unease or not feeling safe is one reason people would be considering moving abroad. The resurgence of intolerance and racism, and yes, we've always had it, But you have to agree that there is a sense of a resurgence, especially to people interactions, where we feel that there used to be more restraint before, but now it's like ad lib. People feel a certain way, a certain license and freedom to say anything they want to say to you, spewing out all the hate and all that. And as you start getting older, you're trying to get away from that. So that's one of the other factors. This is my observation, okay? This is in no way scientific. And also, I think a general sense of disillusion with the notion that we had of our dear America being a beacon of tolerance and freedom and equity. I don't know if you've been under a rock, but it's not really like that. So once you start, as I said, stopping for a minute so you can think through those things, you become more aware. Because if you're on that wheel and you're running, doing life as I was for decades, you really don't have a sense of what is happening and you just swallowing everything somebody else is saying versus sitting down for yourself and examining and coming to your own conclusion. So we're a little bit disillusioned that, and if you talk to anyone who is living abroad, and they will tell you, we were lied to because some other places do certain things much better than us, like healthcare, right? Transportation, safety, food safety. I'm not just saying it, that's in the data, okay? Another thing, okay, and also a loss of civility, and I think that can tie in with what I said earlier. A sense that people can say whatever they want to you. There is no respect of person. There is a sense that we're losing that. Not that it's not there, in some circles, but you feel like people have lost a sense of acceptance that, oh, you can think like that. Okay, that's your opinion. I'm moving on. No, you must think the way I do, or else you're my enemy. So there is no civility, right? The whole incidence of the Karens of this world and Ken and all of this, it's like a grassroots, I don't want to say resurgence, because again, I think these things existed, but there was like a little bit suppression where people felt, oh, I don't want to offend. But now it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to offend you. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I just don't like you. I hate you. But, all this, day in and day out, it does something to your psyche. So feeling a sense of discomfort generally and saying, I wish I could just relax and be somewhere where I don't have to deal with this on a daily basis. I deal with it at work. I deal with it in church. I deal with it, on the train, at the bus stop, everywhere, on the airplane. Can I go somewhere where I don't have to deal with this every day? Where I don't turn on the news and it's the same thing. You're just getting bombarded with the same negativity. So I believe that those factors weigh in on decisions of people such as myself to say, I just need to rest. And then it's not rest just physically. I talk a lot about us as women needing to rest, but it is definitely psychological rest as well. Taking a fast from all the bad news, all the gloom and doom, all the aggression, all the fear, right? Are you following? Okay. And another one that I notice is like aging. That's a big one for me. I did not want to end up in a nursing home because being a healthcare provider, I know a nursing home is not where I want to end up and it's not where I want to die. Okay, so I'm actively trying to prevent that from happening. And the whole aging process, For years, they have been warning us about baby boomers retiring and the tsunami. And it's not just in the US. People are aging all over the world. Birth rates have gone down. Social Security, pension, whatever you want to call it, to take care of this aging population has gone down because you don't have as many people paying into the system. It's not just that the politicians want to cut your benefits, but they're saying it's unsustainable. We don't have as many people paying into it to pay you. It's not just for 10, 15 years now, because when you retire, you could live 30, 40 years. So, but the whole aging about you're going to live longer, you're going to have more chronic illnesses, you're going to need more help. How much money do you have to live that long? The threat of Social Security being cut. What are we going to do? We are being proactive. We're seeing in the future, and also from a demographic and sociological standpoint, we can't rely on our kids to take care of us. Now, if we could, you wouldn't have to worry so much about Social Security because you'll say, oh, my daughter would have a little room for me in her house and she'll be able to feed me. That might be possible. But what about your health care? The cost of all the medications you're taking for your 10 plus chronic illnesses, going to the doctor. If you get admitted to a hospital, your daughter might become bankrupt or whatever little thing that you had, even though you're going to sell the house and your annuities and everything, it's not going to be enough. So that is also part of the reason people are moving away. Okay, so now we've talked about the factors that might push us to consider retiring abroad, moving abroad, going somewhere where we have a little bit of peace, and then financially, our little dollar can stretch a little bit more. So now, having said that, deciding to take the leap to go abroad is not an easy decision. And sis, if you've done it, sir, if you've done it, you know that it wasn't easy for you to get where you are today. So before we continue, I'd like you to consider hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'll wait, like Stephanie says. Go ahead and subscribe. Okay, so what is the dark side? Okay, the positive side is it takes you a while to consider everything I've said. You've sat still long enough. You've done the numbers. You've done your self-assessment like I've asked you to do to see if you're a good candidate for living abroad. Because with everything else I've said, you may still not be a good candidate to moving abroad. And I'm not going to take the time to go back over things that we've discussed before. You can go to the playlist and pick whatever you want to watch again, because this is where the learning happens. This is part of your due diligence, right? So let's say you've done all that, and yes, you're a candidate. Unless you told somebody what that process was like, or somebody who's gone through it, they have no clue how difficult it is to come to that decision. Now, granted, I've heard of a few sisters who have just packed up and boom, boom, they're here. But they're the exception, okay? And it's not something you recommend because it takes a lot of psychological investing in the process of thinking and evaluating, weighing pros and cons to come to that decision, okay? Having to tell your family that you've decided to move abroad as an older person. What was that conversation like? It's not easy, okay? So I'm thinking of the dark side of moving abroad. Everything I talked about before, getting away from everything that you know and love, your church, your kids, your grandkids, your co-workers, people you've worked, a lifetime with. The familiar, Amazon, even though I don't like to mention that name. Going to the store, Walmart. I don't know what else you miss. The beach, the weather, the food. It's hard. Okay. The other thing that living the country that you love, even though you may have become disillusioned, but it's still like I heard someone say the other day in the program, and she kept saying all the negative things about America. And then at the end, she said, and I still believe it is the best place to be. I mean, if you look at certain factors, yes. But this is what you have experienced, known for your whole life. Leaving it is not easy. People call it the matrix. I don't, but leaving is not easy. Okay? It takes determination. It takes working through your fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of having to learn a new language, the fear of learning a new culture. And some of you might say, well, you know what? I'm just too old to learn all that. And you'd have a valid point, right? The fear of being alone. Well, I just did a video last week about embracing singleness, singlehood. If you need to have people around you in your space, it might be difficult for you. That is part of the darker side that you have to think through. And other people need to be aware that it is not easy. The other thing you might have to deal with that you probably have dealt with is resentment from others. I remember I was going through something at some point, which I'm not going to go into. And I went to see someone, and then he said, well, you know, those people who are criticizing you are just jealous that you had the guts to make that decision that they are afraid of making. Hello. You tell someone, I'm moving to Panama. Some people have not traveled. They like the comfort of being in the community that they know, people that they know. They're afraid of change. So when they see you say, oh, I'm leaving, they're like, who does she think she is? That little seed of jealousy is in every single one of us. So they might resent you for having the gall to say you're going to leave. How dare you? But you get up and go anyway. So you have to deal with that. So that's why I tell people, when you're telling your friends and family, wait for the backlash. And the backlash may not be verbal. It might just be isolation. They ignore you. They don't invite you. They don't talk to you. You know, you're being blacklisted pretty much. Be ready for it. Now, if you're a sensitive soul, this might hurt. This might hurt. It might make you question, do I really want to do that because my friends are important to me? Okay? So family and friends, they may not invite you to family events because, oh yeah, she's going to leave anyway. So we got to get used to not having her around. Let her go. She's a black sheep, right? And there is the other thing about, I wrote it, it says a deliberate, dereliction of duty. Well, if you leave, who's going to take care of mom? Who's going to help me with the grandkids? That's your job as a grandmother to help support us. What do you mean you're leaving? The guilt that they can put on you can be astronomical. And if you're not someone who is strong enough, got strong shoulders, be able to flick them off and say, I expected it. And then, of course, you have to show love and understanding that some people don't handle change very well, or they have taken you for granted, your presence, your availability. Oh, mom, I'm going here. Can you watch the kids? Go on vacation, leave the kids with you. That's an expectation. That doesn't mean I'm available, even if I'm in town. But because they have come to rely on you, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but when you say I'm leaving, they're like panicking. It's like, okay, who's going to keep the kids when we have to go on vacation? We can't just drop them off at grandma. Dereliction of duty. In their mind, it is your responsibility to be available. How dare you leave? And you're not moving, across town. You're moving across the ocean. How dare you? Oh my God. The guilt and the sense of abandonment, they make you feel like you're really abandoning them, like they're a child. And it's like, you're a grown person, you have your own life. But this is why you have to start training your kids when they're younger. And of course, I talk about the multi-generational model, where as you age, it is ideal if you kind of live in community with your family so you can help each other. Yes, we're going back to that. But at the same time, there is a certain level of independence that needs to exist that you don't take me for granted, right? Okay. So you worked through all that. You've survived. You've withstood everything they're thrown at you. You say, I'm leaving anyway. My friend said her family did not even believe that she was leaving until the day when they saw her with her bag. Because it's hard for some of them. And that's why I mean showing them grace, understanding that it's not easy for them. And then gently you could say, I'm sorry, but. Okay. Preparing to expat is a highly emotional phenomenon, right? A sense of feeling overwhelmed with all the details. That's why it's important for you to watch the videos, do the list, your downsizing list, decluttering list, stick to the schedule, and then prepare yourself emotionally. Talk to somebody. Maybe you need to go see your therapist, your pastor. Okay. A good friend, right? And kind of sort out your feelings so you don't feel overwhelmed. And physically, do your exercise, eat well, try to get some sleep, because things that you can experience as you try to expat, not only dealing with all the family and friends' reaction to your news, but that could weigh on you in the sense of anxiety, insomnia, you can't sleep at night, under eating or overeating, depending on how you manage stress, right? So weight gain, weight loss, sleeplessness, anxiety, depression, all these things can go into play. What I'm going to beg you to not do is ignore. Acknowledge those. And if you need some help, get some help, because your mental health is as important as your physical health. Okay? And then the fear of the unknown. When you go to a new community, how is it going to work out? That's why we say reach out to your Facebook group, come on your scouting trips, reach out, make connection, get contact information so that when you land here, you're not by yourself. And this is why SWRA exists. We teach you in the beginning, we teach you how to transition. And when you land, we help you get a softer landing. Okay, Maggie, how do I do that? Where do I find that? Our resource guide is there to support you. So make sure you have to be intentional about that. So the feeling of being overwhelmed, pacing yourself, not saying, I need to get all this done in a week. No. First, you need to sleep. You need to rest. Get some water, get some fruit, get some food, and hibernate for a little bit. Recharge, rejuvenate. It's important, okay, to counteract the dark side. We got plenty of sunshine here in Panama, so depression should not be, well, I shouldn't say should not be an issue, but it's helpful in keeping down feelings of being depressed. So get out in the sun. Vitamin D is vital for your mental health. Just go out there in the sun. I know it's warm, but get out in the morning when the sun just come out. Go for a walk, go to Parque Omar, go to Santa Costera, go to the mall and people watch, go to the beach. Self-care. And self-care is not just going into somebody's tub and then, soaking it up. Self-care means activity, walking, go out to dinner, get a nice cup of coffee, have a glass of wine, and that's what you want to do. Okay? All right. So you're trying to ward off the anxiety, the depression, right? The fear of the unknown. That is normal. You need to expect it, right? But at the same time, you need to be open to embrace the new and kind of not holding so tight on the old. I'm not saying get rid of the old because you're who you are. You're never going to change some of the stuff that you were brought up with. But being open to a new way of doing things, a new way of thinking, manana mindset, and all that. The traffic, the food, customer service, all the things we talk about. It's a new day, sis. This is not what you grew up with. And you have to say, okay, this is my new reality now. Okay? And it kind of keep the dark side away. Open, when I wake up in the morning, it's so bright here. I mean, you can't help but saying, wow, I need to get out. Oh, it's a new day, right? Don't close down the blind and get under the covers. No, 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 no. So make sure you don't feel overwhelmed. To ward off the dark side of being an expat, meaning embracing the unknown, embracing your new reality, understand the challenge of being in a new place. You might be stared at. If your Spanish is not up to date, you may feel very uncomfortable. But like I said before, you need to start working on your Spanish before you get here. Use your Google Translate if you're that uncomfortable, even though I don't recommend that you get attached to it. Take some classes, open your mouth, because the challenge of not being understood or making yourself understood can be a barrier and put you in a dark place. Could be part of the dark side. The culture here in Panama or wherever you go that might be different from your own culture can become part of the dark side if you're not open. The pace of things is not going to be what you're used to, sis, but you should have known that before you got here. Sometimes people start complaining and I'm like, okay, no one asked you to come. No one asked you to come. And you should have known that this is the way it is here. And if you can't deal with it, stay over there. Anyway, so congratulations. You've made the move. You've survived. You've gone through all the darkness until you got here. But after you get here, there is also potential for darkness to overwhelm you unless you're very sensitive and careful. Join the groups, join SWRA, get out at least every day. Do something fun. My God, in the city, we have so much, and not just in the city, There is yoga, then it's Zumba, there is salsa. You can go eat. You can go to Taboga Island, 30-minute ferry ride. If you have to go there 2-3 times a week, if you're a beach bum, do it until you can move to the beach areas. The food, experiment. Stay within your budget. Don't feel pressured to do things that you can't afford. Pick your friends wisely. You can go to an event, just feel the temperature, and then, is this my vibe or is it not? You don't have to explain yourself to people. But be intentional about keeping your peace, about warding off all the, and then if you feel yourself starting to get depressed, that's when you need to make yourself, go out. The other thing you need to do, I think it's important, is understand that there's a transition. When you make a big decision like moving abroad, there is a part of you that's going to grieve what you've left, what you've lost. And this is important. The grieving process has, I think it's 5 stages, the grief process, right? People don't believe it, and then they argue, and then they get depressed, and then they bargain, and then finally they get to acceptance. You're going to go through all these emotions at different pace. You know what I mean? Just acknowledge. I've heard people say, oh, I came, I loved it so much, I went home, I sold my house, and I come. But it happened so fast that maybe they didn't get a chance to get in tune with their emotions of what it might mean. And we are all so different. We handle change differently. Some people have a difficulty with change. That should be a ding ding warning for you to move abroad because change is the name of the game, right? So understand that you're going to grieve what you have left, but you have to be intentional about taking steps to reverse that. Okay. So planning for regular trips back could be something you need to consider. Maybe you need to go back and see the grandkids a couple of times because cutting the cord and then just saying you never see your family again, that's hard. You're not a tree. So understand you have emotions. So most of us, we go back and forth because you need your fix. You need to see. I remember when we moved from New York to Florida, I was so homesick the first winter. It was in the 80s. There was no snow. It wasn't cold. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And then I went home and it snowed and I was like, oh, that's what I left. Okay, I'm good now. We have sisters who have gone back to Atlanta just now, and it's snowing. So they're like, whoa, we can't wait to come to Panama. But it is important for you to do that, just for you and also for your loved ones. So they say, oh, okay, she's okay. She's looking okay. We're okay. It's a process, sis. Okay? So regular return is important. Flexibility of mind and purpose. Being open to change, to shifting if you need to, especially with the real estate, because you can get an apartment here and then you hate it and then you have to move. You got to be flexible. Call somebody, hey, do you know a mover? Someone can move me? Be flexible. That's going to go a long way to keep the dark clouds away. In conclusion, I'm looking at the time. Moving abroad is not that glamorous. It's a decision that is usually made. It's kind of heart-wrenching because you really don't want to leave what you know. You're almost being forced to make that decision because of external factors. But understanding your reason, if the reasons are strong enough for you to leave, understand it comes with some, what's the word I'm looking for? There are some consequences, right? Relationships, other people coming in your comments telling you, oh, well, don't come back or whatever. You know, you have to learn to deal with all that. So it is important for you to do the work, do your self-assessment, understand how your mind works. Are you open-minded? Are you flexible? What ifs, all the what ifs, what if something happens to me? What if I get sick? What are we going to do? And that's why we talk about those things all the time. You need to have the conversation with yourself, with your family, and your new family here. Be proactive. Understand the emotional toll. You know, when you've come here from having closed down your house and give away your stuff, do you know the emotion? That was the most emotional part for me, was watching people walk away with my stuff, right? It was like it became real then. So prepare yourself for that, sis. Be open-minded. So becoming an expat, especially an older expat, is not glamorous at all. It is a decision that was heart-wrenching for a lot of us. And we are trying to be proactive and practical and prepare for our, older days. But it's not, all fun and games. We try to make the best of it. We are intentional about making it work and being open and grateful and thankful. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I just didn't want people to have an idea that, oh my gosh, she moved away. It's so fun. No, it was work. It was work. So anyway, try not to become an expat failure as you go into your new home. Make sure you do the work and you become a very thankful, enlightened, happy expat. It can be happy, but you have to work at it. You have to be intentional. You know, my favorite word. And you have to craft life for you. You have to get rid of what happened in the past. Don't stay in the past. This is a new day. This is a new life. Enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir, à la prochaine. Bonne journée. Bye.